I was the cherished highborn princess of the Marquis in Jembe. A ruined princess, her reputation utterly destroyed, deemed fit only to marry a beggar. From that moment on, my nobility was stripped away, leaving me with nothing but utter humiliation.
What on earth do you want from me?
Xie Juning, you are far too arrogant and overbearing.
If I didn't resort to this, how else could I have broken off our engagement?
Besides, you are a princess. It's not like you'd actually end up marrying a beggar. Stop making a scene.
Your reputation is already in tatters anyway.
The only choice now is for me to marry Linglong first, and then I'll take you in as my concubine.
Linglong is nothing but an orphan girl from the Mao territory. To think you would use such filthy, underhanded tricks just to call off our engagement for a Mao orphan. I stared at Lu Qingheng, the very man who once swore I would be the only woman he'd ever marry, and felt my heart shatter into a million bloody pieces. Right then and there, I slammed our token of love to the ground, shattering it to pieces.
Enough, Shen Yuning.
For a ruined woman like you, even becoming my concubine is a massive step up.
If you're still not satisfied,
then your only other choice is to become the worthless wife of a filthy beggar. I let out a cold laugh. Without a single word, I turned on my heel and walked away.
Half a month later, Lu Jingheng arrived at the Marquis's mansion in grand, arrogant style, ready to take me away as his lowly concubine. But instead, he was met with a breathtaking sight. A magnificent 10-mile bridal procession of vibrant red stretched. He forgot that the ruthless tyrant of Xylan has kept his empress's throne vacant for me all these years.
Willing to cede 36 entire cities to my nation, just to win my hand in marriage. In the end, Jingheng's hair turned snow white overnight from sheer regret,
as he rode thousands of miles to the imperial palace of Xylan, begging on his knees for me to return.
Fine. I will find the finest craftsman in Great Zhou to repair this token and have it sent back to the Marquis's mansion.
After all, we grew up together. We share a lifetime of history.
Ming, as long as you stop throwing this tantrum.
Once I marry Linglong,
taking you in as a noble consort will be just the same.
He spoke with such supreme, blind confidence,
making my years of deep, genuine devotion look like a pathetic joke.
There is no need. I, Shen Yuning, was born of noble blood. I will never lower myself to be a concubine.
And the same goes for being an equal wife.
Since you, the crown prince, have utterly discarded your sacred vows and insist on marrying that Mao girl, then I shall gladly grant your highness's wish. And from this day forward,
Your Highness, any bond we had is now dead and buried. We are nothing to each other anymore.
As soon as those words left my mouth, Lu Jingheng,
his face darkened instantly. He clearly didn't expect me to be so ruthless.
After all, I once swore an oath that I would marry no one but him.
Back then, countless princes and nobles came to the Marquis's mansion to propose, but I didn't even spare them a single glance.
Just as he was about to speak, the songstress, Linglong, fell to her knees and wept.
My status is lowly.
I would never, ever dare to compete with you, my lady.
Please, do not let there be any rift between you and His Highness because of me. Otherwise, Linlo, get up.
Otherwise, I would deserve 10,000 deaths. Shen Yuning, what are you still unsatisfied with? If you have grievances, take them out on me. Why humiliate a weak, defenseless woman? Besides, at this point, do you still think you are that pampered, high and mighty princess from before?
With so many eyes witnessing you disheveled in a brothel.
If it weren't for the old Marquess's legacy, you would have been dragged to the local authorities and drowned in a cage by now. Allowing you to be my concubine is already the greatest mercy I can offer. Yet, how could he not know the truth? My breath caught in my throat. My heart felt as if it were being squeezed ruthlessly by a pair of invisible, massive hands, making it so painful that I could barely breathe. To think such cruel words could come from Lu Jingheng's mouth. When in the past, if anyone dared to utter a single disrespectful word to me, he would have their tongue ripped out the very next day. He used to say, "The little girl I have pampered and spoiled with all my heart. I can't even bear to raise my voice at her. Who gave you the audacity to provoke her?" Since then, a saying spread through the capital. Offend the crown prince, and you might still live, but offend the little princess on the tip of his heart, and you might as well pick out your coffin.
But why?
Ever since Lu Jingheng returned from his military campaign and brought back that lowly girl, Wan Linglong,
Everything changed.
the exclusive love that once belonged only to me, his endless indulgence, the way I was the only one in his eyes, was now showered entirely upon someone else.
And to call off our engagement,
he didn't even hesitate to drug me and dump me in a brothel, utterly ruining my reputation. Unable to stay a second longer, I whipped my horse and galloped back to the Marquess's mansion. The moment I turned away, tears finally streamed down my face. Father, your daughter will never marry Lu Jingheng. I want to marry Mo Beishan.
Neng, have you really thought this through?
I have.
The crown prince is treacherous and utterly heartless. He is indeed no man of honor. But that tyrant of Xiling is cold and ruthless by nature. His methods are incredibly brutal and vicious. His hands are stained with blood, and he is certainly no saint. Father, I have already made up my mind.
I won't regret this. Ever. I am the daughter of the Marquis Genzabi,
Born into a highly prominent and noble family.
Since childhood, I was groomed with the meticulous care befitting a future empress. I learned to read, manage affairs, and carry myself with perfect grace. I was raised to be the crown prince's primary consort and the future mother of the nation.
But now Lu Jingheng has betrayed me so callously, crushing my years of devotion and my dignity to absolute dust. Why should I waste another second on him?
Besides, the position of Empress of Xiling has been kept vacant for me for years.
Back then, to marry me, he was even willing to cede 36 cities. It was Lu Jingheng who knelt before the imperial hall for 3 days and 3 nights, just to block that marriage decree. Now that I am marrying into isolating myself, I will still be the empress, answerable to only one, but above tens of thousands.
Du Jingheng, you had better not regret this.
My dear daughter, since your mind is made up,
I will head to the palace immediately to ask His Majesty for that decree.
my father didn't hesitate for a second and left for the palace. But before I could even catch my breath, a servant rushed in to report.
Oh no! The Crown Prince has arrived with Lady Wan. Lu Jingheng has brought Wan Linglong right to our doorstep. He has brought a whole battalion of Imperial Guards with him, causing a massive scene.
Shen Yuning, get out here right now! I walked toward the main hall with a cold, expressionless face.
My gaze fell upon the fully armed Imperial Guards,
And an ominous feeling rose in my chest. Your Highness, I have already cut all ties with you, just as you wished. For you to bring such a massive crowd here.
What is the meaning of this?
Lu Jingheng glared at me, while Wang Linglong, standing by San,
Was sobbing uncontrollably for some unknown reason.
You still have the nerve to ask me?
I thought you knew your place and would behave yourself. But I never expected you to be so consumed by jealousy of Linglong that you would secretly steal her life-binding goo. And a young person's life-bind goo is directly tied to their very survival. Just because she stood in your way, are you really trying to force her to her death? I will give you one more chance.
Hand over Linglong's life-bound goo right now. Otherwise, even if you are a princess,
Don't blame me for showing no mercy. Slander! This is absolute slander!
I cursed him bitterly in my heart. Without a shred of evidence, Lu Jingheng actually wants to frame me for stealing something I never did.
I have never even touched it. Miss Wan lost her things.
But what does that have to do with me?
In this entire capital, who else besides you would target Linglong? Aren't you just unwilling to give up the position of crown princess? So you want to get rid of her?
Princess.
I beg you, please return my lie-bound goo. If it's away from my body for too long, I will die. At the mention of the word die,
Lu Jingheng looked as if a taboo had been violated.
his brow furrowing deeply. Losing all patience, he snapped. I don't have time to waste talking with you. Guards, search the manor.
Make sure you find Linglong's life-bound boo.
I dare anyone to try.
Our family is full of loyal martyrs, whom even the Emperor must show respect to. Yet he actually wants to search and humiliate our Mark estate for a mere goo girl. My father heard the commotion in the front hall,
And walked over. After learning what had happened,
fury instantly welled up in his chest.
our estate guards were no match for the Imperial Guard. And Lu Jingheng had brought almost the entire capital's Imperial Guard.
They were too many?
And our guards couldn't stop them at all. In moments, the century-old manor was trashed and left in ruins. Countless rare flowers and plants were trampled underfoot, and authentic masterpieces of famous artists were torn to shreds.
Stop! All of you, stop!
My father had lived a glorious life. When had he ever suffered such humiliation? On the spot, he clutched his chest and collapsed to the ground in pain.
My eyes went red with panic. I knew father's heart condition was flaring up. My father watched you grow up
And protected you, all the way to becoming the crown prince.
He even taught you your martial arts. Father has treated you with nothing but absolute devotion.
Are you trying to anger him to death today?
Why haven't you called the estate doctor for father yet?
Seeing father struggle to catch his breath,
Lu Jingheng wiped the smirk off his face and barked, "Summon the imperial physician!" But before he could,
finish his sentence, Wan Linglong, standing right beside him, suddenly clutched her chest. Your Highness.
my chest hurts so badly. I don't think I'm going to make it. Instantly, any remaining hesitation vanished from Lu Jingheng's eyes. Shen Yuning!
Shen Yuning, are you playing the victim again? If you really care about the Marquis, Think over the life source goo right now.
Otherwise, even if my imperial father himself comes down,
Don't even think about getting an estate doctor here.
I could barely believe my own ears. Lu Jinghang,
I've never even seen that life source goo. Why won't you believe me?
why do you refuse to believe a single word I say?
Why won't you?
Seeing father's face turn deathly pale in an instant,
I was burning with anxiety.
but the imperial guards pinned me to the spot. Meanwhile, unable to find what he was looking for, Lu Jinghang became even more furious, a dark, vicious look clouding his face. He actually went so far as to order the estate gates to be thrown wide open.
Thrown wide open.
Look, everyone! This is Shen Yuning, the legitimate daughter of the Marquis of Jianbei. She is naturally loose and utterly shameless. Not only that, she even stole Linglong's life source goo, trying to kill her. So Kanshan, how can someone like this,
Being worthy of being a princess of our great so.
hearing this, the crowd instantly erupted in outrage. I even bought that painting of her half-naked with my own eyes.
I really don't know how she has the nerve to go on living. If I were her, I would have hanged myself long ago.
Isn't she just bringing absolute shame upon the Mark estate?
My face drained of color.
As I clenched my fists tight,
That day, Lu Jinghang used the excuse of celebrating my birthday.
to invite me to a small gathering at the Crown Prince's palace.
I was completely off guard.
Never expecting that after drinking a single cup of tea, I would black out. When I woke up, I found myself disheveled and exposed in a filthy brothel. I screamed, desperately clutching my torn clothes, and ran all the way back to the Mark estate, crying under those disgusting, leering stares.
If it weren't for my father's comforting words, I probably would have really taken my own life out of despair.
Suppressing the stabbing pain in my heart, I declared, I, the Princess of Jianbei, am completely innocent and upright.
Even if some insidious snake ruined my reputation with dirty schemes. It's not for the likes of you to gossip about me.
Hearing my words, Lu Jinghang glared at me.
Who are you calling an insidious snake? He hissed. He glanced at my father, who was on the verge of collapsing, and sneered. Aren't you desperately worried about your father's life? If you sincerely kowtow 99 times to apologize to Linglong,
I, the Crown Prince, will call the imperial physician for him.
well, what do you say?
Hearing this, my fingernails dug so hard into my palms that they almost drew blood,
My face instantly went deathly pale.
and my eyes burned a furious, bloodshot red. Since I was a child, I had been pampered like royalty, a precious gem held in the palm of everyone's hand. When had I ever suffered such crushing humiliation?
But when I thought of how much my father had always loved and protected me,
I steeled my heart. I dropped to my knees right in front of Lu Jinghang. I slammed my forehead against the hard, cold floor, over and over again. By the time I stopped, my entire face was smeared with blood.
Now, can you save my father? I choked out. Lu Jinghang stared at my bloody face, in utter shock.
A flash of painful hesitation crossing his eyes. Just as he was about to speak, a guard rushed in and reported, Your Highness, we found one Linglong's natal bone hidden right under the princess's bed. In an instant, all the hesitation in his eyes vanished, replaced by cold fury.
Send you me!
Even now, at this very moment,
What else do you have to say for yourself? To think I was once betrothed to you.
is the greatest humiliation of my entire life. With that, he scooped one Linglo up in his arms and stormed out without looking back.
Wiping away my tears in utter humiliation, I didn't have time to sink into grief. I quickly summoned the manor doctor to save my father. It wasn't until half an hour later that my father was finally out of danger. He gasped weakly.
The Crown Prince has truly gone too far this time.
He doesn't show a single shred of respect for Nzembe Marcus Mansion. When I fought alongside His Majesty to conquer this empire, His Majesty promised me 3 wishes.
First, I used one wish to secure the Crown Prince title for Lu Jinghao. Second, I secured the command of 100,000 troops for him. And yet today, he treats us with such heartless ingratitude.
My father sighed deeply,
Looking at me with absolute heartache. Don't worry, my child. Your father will never let you suffer this injustice.
this 3rd wish. So father went to beg His Majesty to title me as a princess and marry me off to Xiling for a peace alliance,
So that I could have a grand and glorious wedding.
I was incredibly moved.
Clinging to my father, as I cried my eyes out for the longest time.
Then one day, a secret imperial decree arrived at our Marcus estate.
I was bestowed the title of Grand Princess of State Defense, in order to depart for Xiling for the peace alliance in half a month.
Time flew by in the blink of an eye. A thanked princess hosted a flower hairpin banquet,
Inviting all the noble young ladies of the capital to attend.
but the very noble ladies who used to trail behind me, showering me with endless flattery, now avoided me like the plague the moment they saw me.
It was as if I were some kind of filthy, diseased creature. Just then, a sudden commotion broke out in the crowd.
I looked over and saw Lu Jingham and Wan Linglong arriving hand in hand. Wan Linglong was wearing a gown that literally shimmered with radiant, dazzling colors.
Oh my god! Is Lady Wan wearing the floating light brocade? Only 3 rolls of floating light brocade are produced in an entire year. To think His Highness would actually give away something so incredibly rare and precious. It seems the rumors are absolutely true. Our crown prince truly treasures Lady Wan with his entire heart. But didn't His Highness used to give the floating light brocade to the commandery princess every single year? Without it this year, wouldn't the commandery princess be utterly heartbroken? Hearing this, a bitter ache slowly began to spread through my heart. Forget about the floating light brocade and the past. No matter what beautiful treasure Lu Jingheng obtained, he would always give it to me first. Noticing the loneliness and dejection written all over my face, Lu Jingheng just gave a cold, dismissive laugh. Then, right in front of everyone, he pulled Wan Linglong onto his lap. Such precious things should naturally be given to someone who actually deserves them. As for a woman who ruined her reputation and lost her purity before marriage, is she even worthy? My face turned deathly pale. I clenched the teacup in my hand so hard my knuckles turned white.
Lu Jingheng, when he loves you, he lifts you to the heavens. But when he hates you, he drags you to hell. He didn't even want to leave me a shred of dignity.
In the end, it was the Night Princess who noticed how tense the atmosphere had become and stepped in to break the ice. I didn't want to stay there a second longer. During the banquet, I excused myself, claiming to feel a bit stuffy, and went to clear my head in the back garden. But after about 15 minutes, I overheard a familiar voice. Your Holiness, the Holy Maiden, your methods are truly extraordinary. Ever since you cast that love curse on the Crown Prince of Great Zhou, he has eyes only for you.
朱清康擂响网营，可能是灵应。
Causing countless of our people to die tragic deaths. This is nothing but the price he deserves to pay. Once I completely control his mind, I will make the entire continent pay in blood for Mahjong. But we cannot celebrate too early just yet. If Yu Qinhan experiences the pain of losing his true love, there is still a chance he might break free from the love goose control. I stared in utter shock at Wan Linglong behind the rockery.
And her maid. My dead, withered heart suddenly began to beat again at this moment. So, Lu Jingheng was afflicted by the love cue. Is that why he betrayed me? None of this was what he really wanted.
Desperately, I tried to suppress the wild hope rising in my chest. Just as I was about to slip away quietly,
I stepped on a dry branch,
making a sharp snap. Instantly, both Wan Linglong and her maid snapped their heads in my direction. You heard everything? Seeing this, I didn't want to endure it any longer, and demanded. So, the reason Lu Jingheng's personality changed so drastically is all because you poisoned him with your...
Linglong paused,
then curled her lips into a cold smirk. Senyuani, you don't still believe Lu Jingheng was forced into this, do you? If he were someone with a strong, unwavering will, the lugger wouldn't have worked on him at all. In other words, it was because Lu Jingheng already had feelings for me that allowed my goo to take root. Shen Yuning, you really are an absolute fool. Let me help you see your beloved's true colors, right now. With that, she put on a pitiful, helpless look and plunged straight into the freezing lake. Almost at the exact same moment, a furious voice boomed. Linglong! Sen Yuling, you vile, venomous woman! How dare you try to murder Linglong the moment my back is turned? Without even waiting for my response, he threw off his outer robe and leaped into the freezing water. Disregarding his own safety, he swam resolutely toward Wan Linglong, only breathing a sigh of relief once he dragged her safely back to shore. I watched this scene play out in silence, without saying a word. I couldn't help but remember when we were ambushed at the Shanglan hunting grounds years ago. Lu Jingheng had shielded me in the exact same reckless, self-sacrificing way, taking 4 deep stab wounds for me, nearly losing his life. Yet he forced himself to stand, refusing to collapse. Shen Yuning, what excuses do you have left now? If you dare hurt Linglong one more time, don't even dream of becoming my concubine. Your Highness, if I had really pushed Miss Wan into the water, then my shoes and socks would be covered in wet mud from the lakeside. But as you can see, mine are perfectly dry. This proves I had nothing to do with Miss Wan falling into the lake. I ask that your Highness see the truth. The moment those words left my mouth, Lu Qinhan froze in his tracks. Wan Linglong trembled in his arms, her face pale. If she couldn't produce any proof now, it would look like she was intentionally framing me. I thought Lu Jingheng would finally be speechless. But to my surprise, he declared with self-righteous confidence, Linglong is too kind and innocent. No matter what, she could never be at fault. She is already freezing from falling into the water. Yet you just stood there, completely indifferent. This only proves how calculating and cold-hearted you truly are. Get out. Go home and reflect on your actions. And don't even think about leaving until you have copied the scriptures 100 times. So, a person's heart really can be this biased. I stared at Lu Jingheng, who made no effort to hide his blatant favoritism. After a long silence, I finally let out a silent, bitter laugh. Yes, Your Highness. I obey. Ju Jingheng. I am completely done with you. Half a month later, on the day of my wedding, I stepped into the bridal sedan wearing a vibrant red gown.
To show his high regard, the emperor bestowed a dowry upon me that stretched across 10 miles of streets.
Zhu Qinghao's wedding was on the exact same day. Catching sight of the grand procession of the Marquis and Jinbei's estate from afar,
He frowned and rode his horse right up to my bridal sedan.
there is no need for such a massive scene just to become my concubine. Why are you still being so incredibly wasteful?
Good, and give half of this dowry to Linglong. Your Highness, what on earth are you talking about?
The man I am marrying is not you.
And the items behind me are not just my dowry. Many of them are the betrothal gifts sent by my husband.
Hearing this, Lu Jinghong froze instantly.
Shock and disbelief filled his eyes.
I clearly caught a flicker of panic deep in Lu Jinghong's eyes.
But in the blink of an eye,
He let out a mocking scoff.
his eyes swept up and down my body as he sneered. Sin Yunin.
Since when did you learn to play hard to get?
We both know your heart belongs completely to me.
And you would never willingly marry another man.
But even if you wanted to,
Who in the capital would actually marry you now? I advise you to accept reality.
Once Linglong and I consummate our marriage tonight,
I will naturally treat you well. If your Highness does not believe me, then so be it. But whether it is my dowry or the betrothal gifts, they belong solely to me. They have absolutely nothing to do with Miss Wan.
do you hand him his brows tightly?
his voice dripping with utter impatience. Enough, Shen Yuning!
Stop spinning these lies. I have no time to waste on your nonsense. With that, he did not even wait for my response before swinging onto his horse, riding away.
I watched his figure fade into the distance, my mind momentarily drifting.
I used to dream about our wedding day countless times.
He once promised hire the finest seamstresses in the land to sew my bridal gown and to crown me with the most exquisite phoenix headpiece.
Yet now, I am marrying another man while he welcomes his new love.
It truly is a cruel twist of fate.
Letting out a soft sigh, I closed the carriage curtain. With a loud, resonant cry of, "Lift the sedan!" I departed from my homeland, journeying into the unknown.
That night, Lu Jinghong drank himself into a stupor at the wedding banquet.
Checking the hour, he rubbed his dizzy forehead, trying to clear his mind. He figured both Inen and Linglong must have arrived at the Crown Prince's manor by now. But Linglong was his officially wedded Crown Princess. On their wedding night, he naturally had to spend the night in Linglong's chamber.
With this thought in mind,
主祭恒僧等下康时，撤瓦玲珑下。
staring at her red bridal veil,
a joyous smile spread across his lips. But the very moment he reached out his hand, but suddenly, a strange, unsettling feeling welled up in his heart. He had finally gotten his wish and married the woman he loved.
So why wasn't he happy? Why did he feel so empty inside?
Why was his mind suddenly filled with nothing but Adning's face? In a daze, he remembered the countless promises he had once made to me.
Aning,
in my heart, you are the most beautiful, most precious woman in the world, my priceless treasure, whom I would never trade for anything. And then, out of all the thousands of rivers in the world, I will only drink from your stream. You are the only one for me. Even when I ascend the throne in the future, my harem will only ever have you. Aneng, you must promise me that you will stay by my side forever. If you ever leave me, I will go mad. I will die. No, that can't be right. He used to love Anning so deeply.
So why did he stop loving her?
And why on earth did he fall for Linglong instead? All of a sudden, Lu Jinghong felt a splitting headache, as if his mind were tearing apart.
Your Highness, what's wrong?
Duty Heng's eyes darted around in confusion. His throat tightened.
After a long, heavy silence, he suddenly blurted out, "Linglong,
I am staying in Ning's room tonight." With that,
completely ignoring Wan Linglong's pale, horrified face, he stumbled out and rushed frantically toward the side courtyard of the Crown Prince's estate. But when he got there, the side courtyard was completely empty. There was absolutely no sign of me.
where is the princess? Didn't she marry into the Crown Prince's estate today along with Linglong?
Yeah, Your Highness. The princess left early this morning for her political marriage to the Western Long Empire. How could she possibly be marrying into the Crown Prince's estate? What did you say?
Went for a political marriage? Why did I know absolutely nothing about such a massive event?
Lu Jinghan roared, his voice cracking with desperation. If anyone dared to look closely, his eyes were bloodshot and filled with panic. Yet his face was deathly pale. Grabbed tightly by his collar, the trembling servant stammered, "Your Highness, the princess's political marriage was a secret imperial decree from His Majesty."
Who did you say told him?
This servant only found out about it recently, too. And Your Highness gave strict orders before that no news about the princess was to be reported to you, and that if anyone dared to mention her, they would pay with their head. His mind went completely blank, a deafening ring filling his ear. He staggered, barely able to keep his footing. Ning is gone. She's been sent away for a political marriage, sent off to marry that brutal tyrant. In an instant, a heart-wrenching pain ripped through his chest. The memories he had desperately tried to bury now came flooding back.
My lively, adorable face,
My bright, radiant smile.
and all our sweet, tender moments flashed before Lu Jingheng's eyes.
What on earth did he do? How could he bring himself to treat his precious Ning like this?
A sudden, metallic sweetness rushed up Lu Jingheng's throat,
And he coughed up a violent spray of blood.
The love parasite was finally, completely broken.
Wan Linglong rushed in, only to witness this very scene.
Her face paled in instant horror. Desperate, she tried with all her might to reactivate the love parasite.
But no matter what she did,
The parasite didn't respond at all.
In the next second, her breath caught in her throat.
As Lu Jingheng, the man who used to pamper and indulge her, clutched her neck in a death grip.
Lu Jingheng's eyes were bloodshot and wild.
And his voice was so icy, he sounded like the Lord of Death himself.
Your Highness, what is the meaning of this?
What on earth did you do to me? Why did I lose my absolute mind over you? The second the spell broke, he realized Wan Linglong had played him like a fool.
If he didn't need to get to the truth right now, he would have turned her limb from limb.
Seeing that her plot was completely exposed,
And there was no hope of saving herself.
Wan Linglong threw off her act.
Ripping off her sweet, gentle facade, she sneered. Lu Jingheng, you really are a pathetic fool.
to think the grand crown prince of this empire was wrapped around my little finger the entire time.
For Mao Jiang to fall to a brainless idiot like you.
Heaven is truly blind. So you only got close to me to avenge your clan? Of course. What else did you think it was? Did you honestly think a brainless fool like you could actually attract me?
In this entire world, only a brainless idiot like Shen Yuning could ever truly love you.
But she never could have guessed that her beloved would discard her like trash. All because of a single love spell.
Tell me, Lu Jingheng, isn't she just pathetic?
Rage exploded inside Lu Jingheng. He wanted nothing more than to snap her neck right then and there.
His blood boiled with pure fury, especially when he thought of all the agonizing pain I had endured these past 10 days.
Guards! Throw this bastard into the dungeon. Subject him to all 72 forms of torture, one by one.
Just remember, keep him alive.
I want him to regret ever crossing Lu Jingheng.
Lu Jingheng threw Wan Linglong violently onto the ground.
Then, he swiftly leaped onto his horse and dashed toward the city gates without uttering a single word.
Annie, Auntie finally knows she was wrong. Wait for me. Auntie is coming to find you right now to apologize to you properly. Please, I beg you, you must wait for me. At the border of Xiling, I stared blankly at the tall figure before me. He was dressed in a vibrant red wedding robe.
A man named Mo Beishang, whose handsome face carried a touch of wild, wicked charm.
I had only just crossed the border into Xilan. Why wasn't he staying put in the Imperial Palace? Why did he rush out to meet me so soon?
Your humble servant greets you, Your Highness, I said, suppressing my thoughts and curtsying to him with proper etiquette. He casually replied, You may rise.
Mo Beishang, what are you doing?
Mu Beixiang had actually, impatiently, scooped me up in his arms and hoisted me onto his tall horse.
In my panic, I almost instinctively raised my hand to slap his face, but remembering that our statuses were different now, I managed to hold myself back.
Yeah. Mo Beishang suddenly burst into laughter.
Looking down at me with a beaming smile. What's wrong? You little brat. Your temper hasn't changed a bit, has it? Still as quick to throw a punch as always.
Years ago, before Mo Beishang ascended the throne,
He had visited the Great Zhou Empire as Xilan's envoy.
he stayed in Great Zhou for quite a while.
The first time we met was in the Imperial Palace's royal gardens. I was still young and small back then, always causing trouble and mischief. I had climbed high up into an apricot tree, but couldn't get back down. I could only cry and scream for Lu Jingheng to save me. Moments later, I slipped and fell from the tree, landing straight into someone's arms. But it wasn't Lu Jingheng, it was Mo Beishang. Looking up at his incredibly handsome, godlike face, I froze in shock.
He flashed a wicked, charming smirk at me, but in the very next second, I slapped him hard across the face.
You scoundrel! Let go of this princess this instant!
He seemed completely stunned, unable to process what I had just done.
I had no idea who he was.
And fearing he would retaliate once he recovered from the shock,
I stomped hard on his foot and bolted, running to find Lu Jingheng to back me up. Only later did I find out that he was Xilan's brilliant and formidable crown prince. When we met again, Mu Beishang would always tease me about my spoiled and stubborn temper.
I wonder who would ever dare to marry you in the future.
But as time went on,
His tune changed.
little Enning, he'd say, you're so spoiled. I'm probably the only one who can tolerate you.
And who actually matches you.
Why don't you come back to Xiling with me and be my crown princess? I was utterly dismissive, Making a face at him, I retorted. Who wants to be your crown princess? I only want to be Brother Jingheng's crown princess. At the time, I never would have imagined that after all those twists and turns, I'd still end up marrying Mo Beishang.
And he had actually kept the Empress's throne empty all this time. Just for me.
Mo Beishang, you are the sovereign ruler of a nation. You must have heard the rumors about me back in Dazhou. Why don't you care at all?
In this day and age,
A woman's reputation is everything.
let alone for the Empress, who must be a role model for the entire realm.
I am the emperor. I marry whoever I want. Why should I care what the world thinks? Besides, I knew you long before those baseless rumors ever started. They're nothing but pure fabrication. Hearing this, warmth flooded my heart. Then, a sudden wave of emotion hit me. Over the past few days,
Except for my father.
no one else has trusted me like this. Maybe, just maybe, marrying this rumored tyrant isn't a curse after all. I entered the palace in grand style, riding alongside Mo Beishang in his imperial carriage. Along the way, every citizen who saw me knelt down and bowed, showing the utmost respect. Once we arrived at the Xiling Palace, I was escorted straight into the Fungi Palace.
Mu Beishan knew how much I despised tedious etiquette.
So he simplified the grand coronation ceremony as much as possible, and then night sale. The room was filled with passion. The next morning, I woke up, rubbing my aching waist, only to find Mo Beishang's side of the bed empty. When I asked the maid about it, her expression turned incredibly strange. Answering Her Majesty,
The Emperor. He went to receive the envoy from Dezhou. The envoy from Dezhou?
who is it? It's the Crown Prince of Dazhou, Lu Jingxin. I was completely caught off guard.
By his arrival. I had indeed told my father about Wan Linglong's true identity, but father's advice was to avoid raising any alarms for now.
It's best to wipe out the remnants of the Mao clan once and for all.
As planned.
Even if Lu Jingheng found out the truth, he shouldn't have gotten here so fast. Right now, he should be basking in his newlywed bliss with Wan Linglong. Let me go and see him myself. After a brief silence, I still decided to go see Lu Jingheng. But the moment I reached the Hall of Mental Cultivation, I heard a heated argument coming from inside the hall.
Mo Beishang!
You've coveted Ainingri for all these years, but when has she ever spared you a single glance? If you weren't so blind, you would know that from beginning to end, I am the only one in her heart. If I hadn't fallen for the schemes of that Ma Watch,
How could a Neg and I have ever drifted apart?
I am the one who should be married to her right now. Peering through the crack in the door, I saw Lu Jingheng, his face twisted in utter rage and desperation. It had only been a few days since I last saw him, yet he looked like a completely different person.
His hair was a disheveled mess.
Deep dark circles hung under his eyes.
And his wedding robe hung loosely and sloppily on his frame.
Just what on earth did he go through to end up in such a miserable, pathetic state?
主金行。西地的旁的转箭头中，某百想 spared my call, the smith a glance.
His face was filled with utter contempt. Do you have any idea what you look like right now? You look like a pathetic loser throwing an impotent tantrum. So what if you refuse to accept it? Thinking is my wife now. She is the Empress of Xilan, wedded before the eyes of both our nations. The deed is done. What can you possibly do about it now?
If not for our past friendship,
Your insolent shouting and utter lack of respect,
even as the Crown Prince of Great Show, would have landed you in prison long ago. But speaking of which,
I suppose I actually owe you a thank you.
thank you for being so incredibly foolish, for mistaking a piece of worthless wood for a priceless pearl, and losing a Ning's heart in the process.
Only then could I finally have my heart's desire. In an instant, Lu Jingheng's eyes flared with venomous rage.
He violently crushed the white jade ring on his thumb to pieces.
Mu Beishan,
Shut your mouth.
I want to see a Ming. If I can just explain things to her properly, she will definitely forgive me.
鲁吉恒，
What do you want to say? Seeing me, Lu Jingheng was utterly overjoyed. He wanted to rush forward and pull me into his arms.
But when he saw the cold resistance in my eyes, he abruptly froze in his tracks.
Ling,
He said, his voice trembling with caution.
I know you're angry with me right now.
But everything I did in the past, it wasn't what I truly wanted.
I was under the spell of Wan Linglong's love glee.
She bewitched my mind. That was the only reason I did so many things to hurt you.
Actually, I knew you were under the love goo's spell all along. That day at the Flow banquet, I had already overheard Wan Linglong's conspiracy.
You knew, Ning?
If you knew, then you should understand that I had no choice. But I also heard them say that if your heart had been steadfast, that love goo would never have worked on you.
It was because you had already fallen for her that you gave her the perfect opportunity to control you.
Lu Jinghong froze, all his prepared excuses instantly choking in his throat.
He couldn't utter a single word. His body trembled slightly, and his eyes were filled with utter shock and bewilderment. If he were truly nothing but a victim, he could easily have excused himself. But if he wasn't entirely innocent either, then he truly deserved to die 1,000 deaths. As if he could hear Lu Jingkong's innermost thoughts, Mo Beishao spoke up unhurriedly. I know exactly what a hypocrite like you is thinking. You're probably just telling yourself that you had no other choice. But even if you were forced, does that mean the pain you caused a Ning doesn't count?
A Ling was a girl cherished and pampered since childhood.
By what right did you treat her like dirt? If I were you,
I wouldn't have the audacity to ever show my face to her again. Lu Jingheng thought, shocked that Mo Beishang had voiced his innermost thoughts word for word.
You should leave.
Yu Jingheng, I'm now the Empress of Xiling.
It is no longer appropriate for me to see another man. Lu Jingheng, looking like a withered bamboo swaying in the wind, fleed precariously. He had 1,000 words choked up in his heart, and at this moment, he couldn't utter a single one. In the end, his silent, regretful tears said it all. He only managed to say a single phrase. Take care, Your Majesty. On the day Tu Xinghong left the Xiling Imperial Palace, a freezing rain began to pour. He rode on his horse, looking completely disheveled and miserable. He looked back several times at that magnificent palace, until its grand gates completely vanished into the curtain of rain. The pain in his chest tightened, wave after crushing wave, hurting even deeper than when the heavy sword pierced his heart for his sacred oath years ago. He galloped at full speed, riding day and night, without a single moment of rest, rushing back to Dazro. But the moment he passed through the city gates, he spat out a mouthful of dark blood, fell from his horse, and collapsed into unconsciousness. When he finally opened his eyes, he was already back in the Eastern Palace. But in just a few short days, his jet-black hair had turned entirely white. Inside the dim, shadowy hall, the candlelight flickered weakly.
Wan Longlong was chained up in a dark corner,
Covered in wounds, yet she still glared at him with pure venom the moment he opened his eyes. Lu Jikong, you're finally awake. How does it feel? Watching the woman you love marry your sworn enemy and rule over a vast empire. Does it burn, Lu Jingheng? Does it hurt? Lu Jining forced his weak, trembling body up, his voice sounding as hoarse and broken as a shattered bell. Let me ask you this. Years ago, at the brothel, you were the one who drugged her, weren't you? And then you had someone make her look disheveled, didn't you? So what if I did? What if I didn't? What does it matter now? Do you really think you were completely controlled by the Love Valley curse? Deep down, you were already sick of her spoiled, arrogant attitude. You were terrified that the Senbei Mansion's power would overshadow your own throne. I only gave you the perfect excuse to do what you already wanted to do. You dragged her reputation through the mud. You forced her to her knees. You let the entire city spit on her and curse her name. Tell me, which of those crimes wasn't done by your very own hands? Every single one of them was your own doing. Li Jingham suddenly flipped the table in a violent rage, sending cups and wooden shards flying everywhere. He staggered over to Wan Linglo, punching her throat in a death grip. His grip tightened, squeezing the very breath out of her. But in the end, his hand slowly slipped away, and he collapsed powerlessly onto the cold floor. What is the point of killing him now? It won't undo a single ounce of the agony Ning suffered. He had personally pushed the girl who loved him with all her heart straight into the abyss. In the months that followed, Yu Jingham lived like a walking corpse. He stripped Wao Linglong of all her titles and locked her away forever in a pitch-black dungeon. He allowed her nothing but a mouthful of leftover scraps each day, keeping her alive, yet wishing she were dead. He purged everyone in the Eastern Palace who had helped Wan Linglong frame Shen Yuning. Even the guard who had found the natal curse under Shen Yuning's bed back then was torn apart by 5 horses, his body displayed for 3 days. But the more he purged, the more clearly he realized that the person who deserved to be hacked into 1,000 pieces was himself, dismembered and displayed to the public for 3 days. But the more he purged, the more clearly he realized that the person who deserved to be hacked into 1,000 pieces was himself. He would often sit alone in the courtyard where Shen Yuning used to live, staring into empty space for entire nights. On the table sat the Mandarin duck jade pendant, once shattered, now painstakingly mended with fine gold thread. His fingertips traced the cracks over and over again. Ending. I was wrong. Please, come back to me. I will give you the position of crown princess. I will give you the entire great show. Just, please come back. But the only response was the cold wind howling through the empty courtyard. I, the daughter of the Marquis, think I'm already the Empress of Xilan. Never again shall I meet the Crown Prince of Great Zhou, in life or in death.
Liu Jingham clutched those words, coughing up blood in endless grief.
He finally understood that some wounds, once inflicted, become scars that can never be healed.
for all eternity. Meanwhile, in the Sifling Palace, it was spring all year round. In her second year of marriage, Shen Yuning gave birth to a pair of twins, a boy and a girl.
The prince was named Mo Nianzhou,
And the princess was named Mo Aning. Their names held Mo Baishang's deepest devotion. Do not miss Great Zhou, and only wishing you a lifetime of peace and tranquility. Mo Baishao was a man of his word. From beginning to end, she was the only one in his imperial harem. His ministers repeatedly petitioned him to hold imperial draft selections, but he shut them down with an iron fist every single time. When an elder minister tried to force his hand by kneeling outside the palace hall for 3 days, threatening to die,
Mo Baishan simply sent him a dagger and a cup of poisoned wine.
he spoke coldly. If you want to die, pick your own way. I'll grant your wish. But if you want to live, then keep your mouth shut and stay out of my harem. From that day on, not a single soul in court dared to utter another word about the emperor taking new consorts. Shen Yuning was no longer the girl she used to be, the one who suffered endless grievances in Great Zhou.
That vulnerable, weeping little princess.
Now she wore the magnificent phoenix robe, standing proud as the mother of the nation. Her eyes held nothing but poise and noble grace. The people of Zealand adored her, the court officials respected her, and the palace servants feared and revered her. And more importantly, she was treasured above all else, pampered endlessly by Mo Baishang. All the love and tenderness she had missed out on in the past, he lovingly gave back to her, bit by bit. Every morning, no matter how busy Baishang was, he would always eat breakfast with her, because she loved sweet treats. He ordered his men to search the entire nation for the finest candied pastries. Because she was afraid of the dark, he kept ever-burning candles lit all night in Fangyu Palace. Whenever she thought of her past in Great Zhou and felt sad, he never asked any questions and could only hold her silently in his arms. With me here, no one will ever make you suffer again. One day, Shen Yuning was flying kites with her children in the imperial garden. The young prince, mature and sensible, carefully protected his little sister as she bounced around him. The little princess clutched a sweet pastry in her hand, her eyes curving into beautiful crescents as she laughed, looking just like the carefree Shen Yuning of her youth. Bishan walked up from behind and gently wrapped his arms around her waist. What are you thinking about? Shen Yuning turned around, her eyes filled with deep tenderness. I was thinking, how lucky I am that I never looked back. How lucky she was to have chosen this man, the one who kept the emperor's throne vacant for her and even ceded 36 cities. How lucky she was that after surviving the harsh storms, she finally found her own warmth. It was not luck, but the fact that I waited for you for so many years, from the moment you fell into my arms in the imperial garden and slapped me across the face. I knew right then that you were the only empress for me in this lifetime. Shen Yuning's cheeks flushed a soft red. She gave him a playful little tap on the chest. Nearby, their children laughed and played. Warm sunlight bathed them, so peaceful and comforting. It felt like a dream. She thought that in this lifetime, she was completely done with Daizhou and would never have anything to do with Lu Jingheng again. But some obsessions are never so easily put to rest. 3 years flew by in the blink of an eye. Word came from Daizhou that the emperor was gravely ill, and Crown Prince Lu Jingheng had taken over the regency. But the once proud, high-spirited prince was now a shadow of his former self. He was completely emaciated, his hair stark white, and he shut himself away, day after day, clinging only to a broken piece of jade. He called out, "A Ning," over and over again. Some said the prince had gone mad. Others said his heart was torn to pieces by regret. And some said that every single night, he dreamed of Shen Yuning kneeling before him, begging for forgiveness, her forehead dripping with blood as she wept, asking why he never believed her. In the late autumn of that year, Lu Jingheng, dragging his failing, dying body, and ignoring everyone's pleas, think off once again for Xylan. But this time, he did not go as the crown prince of Daizhou. He went simply as an ordinary man, taking step after painful step toward the palace. He knew he could never enter. He did not present any state credentials, nor did he beg for an audience. He simply stood watch outside the palace gates and fell to his knees, staying there for 3 days and 3 nights. The cold autumn rain fell endlessly, soaking his white hair, as the freezing ground chilled him to the bone. Yet, he remained as still as a stone statue, his eyes fixed on the palace gates, as if he just waited a little longer, the woman he longed for night and day would finally appear. Word quickly reached the Fengyi Palace. Your Majesty, the Crown Prince of Daizhou has been kneeling outside the palace gates for 3 days. He looks like he's about to draw his last breath. Shen Yuning were braiding her little princess's hair, paused for just a fraction of a second, but she quickly regained her composure. He is the Crown Prince of Daizhou. What he does has nothing to do with Zealand, and it has absolutely nothing to do with me. And like this, let him kneel. Her deadened heart still trembled slightly,
It wasn't because she still clung to the past,
but simply because she found it so pathetic. If he had known this day would come, why did he do what he did in the first place?
when Mo Beishao found out, he was furious. He ordered him to be dragged away.
If he dares to disturb the Empress again,
Kill him on sight.
but just as the guards reached the palace gates,
They were blocked by Lu Jinghu.
He was already too weak to even stand, yet he still tightly clutched that piece of broken jade, facing the palace gates.
Danain.
I was wrong.
I really truly was wrong. Please, just come out and see me. Just once, okay?
I don't ask for your forgiveness, and I don't expect you to come back to me.
I just want to say I'm sorry to you, face to face.
Ling, please look back at me. He looked utterly wretched in the freezing rain. Inside the palace walls, San Yuning closed her eyes, tears silently streaming down her face. Not for him, but for the girl she used to be. The one who knelt so humbly for love, and was left completely broken and scarred.
Mother,
Why are you crying?
I'm not.
Mother isn't crying.
It's just the wind. It got in my eyes.
In the end, she never went out to see him. Some apologies come too late to be worth anything. Some wounds are carved so deep into the bone that they can never be forgiven.
On the morning of the 4th day,
Hun collapsed outside the palace gates when guards stepped forward to check on him. Then he was drawing his very last breath, but his hand was still tightly clutching that piece of broken jade,
his eyes were fixed on the palace gates.
filled with endless regret and longing, as he slowly closed them forever.
Lu Jihao, the crown prince of Great Shou, passed away.
He was only 27 years old. By then, his hair was as white as snow, still clutching the broken jade in his hand, even in death.
He died without ever seeing Shen Yuning one last time.
When news of Lu Jingshou's death reached Great Shou, the entire court was shaken to its core. Locked deep in the dungeon, Wan Linglong heard the news. She let out 3 maniacal laughs.
Sat up blood and died on the spot.
With that, the remnants of the Mao rebels were completely wiped out. At his estate, the Marquis of Zhenbei heard the news and muttered, "He brought this on himself."
And reaped like he sowed. When Shen Yuning heard of Lu Jingheng's death,
He was quietly sipping a cup of hot tea. Her hand didn't tremble, and enough a single drop of tea spilled. She only gave a soft, indifferent murmur.
As calm, as if she were hearing about some trivial, everyday matter.
Mo Bishan sat across from her.
Holding her hand tightly in his. "If you're hurting, just cry."
Shen Yuning looked up at him.
Her eyes completely clear and serene. "I'm not sad," she said.
Just relieved.
All the past love and hate
Are completely over now that he's dead.
She did love Lu Jinghen once.
She loved him with every bit of her youth. She had rejoiced for him, waited for him,
Rejected all other suitors for him.
and even threw away her dignity, begging on her knees for him. She endured endless gossip and ended up utterly broken because of him.
But that love was ultimately chipped away by his bias.
Selfishness and stupidity until nothing was left.
The love poison was just an excuse. His true heart was the root of it all.
He wasn't bewitched.
He just didn't love me enough.
He wasn't resolute enough. And he didn't cherish me enough. Now that he is dead, that painful past is finally, truly over.
Seeing the peace in her eyes, Mo Beishang breathed a sigh of relief.
Good. It's all over now. From now on, you have me.
Only us.
Only Aiseling.
And only peace and joy.
Not long after, a new emperor ascended the throne of Great Shou. They sent an envoy with a peace treaty, wishing to forge an alliance with the warriors of Xiling, and pledging never to wage war again.
As the Empress of Xiling, Shen Yuning
Personally, penned a reply. Her words were warm and gentle, her tone carrying the grace and dignity of a queen. Between the lines, there was not a single trace of resentment toward her former homeland, nor any lingering obsession with the past. She wished only for the people of both nations to live in peace and prosperity, free from war for generations to come. The Marquis of Zhenbei also sent a letter. It read, "My daughter has found a worthy partner. As your father, I have no regrets in this life. The Marquis Mansion will always have your back, and Keelan will always be your home."
Shen Yuning cradled the letter in her hands, tears spilling over.
But this time, they were tears of pure joy. Years flew by. The children of Shen Yuning and Mo Beishang grew up. The crown prince, Moni and Zhou, was calm and wise beyond his years,
carrying the same majestic presence as his father.
but with a touch of gentleness. He was kind and generous, deeply loved by his people. The princess Mo Aning was lovely and charming, the spitting image of her mother. Spoiled rotten by both her father and older brother, she ran wild. But she was incredibly kind-hearted, clever, and full of life.
Mo Bishang still doted on Shen Yuning and her alone.
Every year on her birthday, he would cancel court for the day, spending it in the palace with her, admiring the flowers, gazing at the moon, and sharing sweet pastries. Just like an ordinary couple, there was no emperor, no empress, only each other. During the Mid-Autumn Festival that year, under a brilliant, glowing moon, the family gathered at the stargazing tower, raising their glasses to toast the night sky. The little princess snuggled into her mother's arms and asked curiously, "Mother, did you have birthdays this happy when you were little?"
Shen Yuning froze for a brief moment.
She gently stroked her daughter's head. Smiling, she shook her head. "Your mother had a very unhappy birthday one year when she was a little girl." "What happened after that?" "Then your mother met your father."
And from that day on, every single birthday was filled with joy.
Not just your birthdays. I will make sure that year after year, and every single day, you are always happy. I will protect Xialing. Protect father and mother.
And protect my little sister.
I will make sure mother never has to suffer a single grievance again.
Shen Yuling watched this heartwarming scene unfold,
Her eyes welling with tears. She had once thought she would spend her life in misery, crushed by rumors and gossip. She thought she would die of a broken heart from all the pain Lu Jingkong cost her
and end up an abandoned wife.
Nothing more than a joke, with fate, in the end, had been kind to her. Though she had lost a first love that was never meant to be, she gained the ultimate devotion of a lifetime with her one true soulmate. Having endured the brutal storms of life, she had finally found a peaceful, complete, and fulfilling life. She remembered those days back in Dazro,
When Lu Qinghong abandoned her in a brothel,
claiming she was only fit to be a concubine, or that she would end up married to a beggar. She remembered kneeling on the cold ground, her forehead bleeding as she begged him to save her father. She remembered those hideous rumors, the malicious insults, and that bone-chilling coldness. But looking at where she was now, she was the peerless, noble Empress of Silence, the beloved darling of the Emperor's heart, a mother her children adored and relied on, and the esteemed mother of the nation, revered by her people. She was pampered and treasured, living a life of peace and security, held tenderly in the palm of his hand and protected. Beneath his wings, the moonlight washed over her, gentle and bright.
she spoke softly, her voice gentle yet unwavering. "With you by my side."
Why would I ever need to walk through a storm of blood?
Bishan held her tightly, whispering a promise in her ear. "I promise you, your life will never see another storm. Your spring never fades, and for all eternity. They will never part. They will never part." From high atop the star-plucking tower, laughter and joy echo, under the gentle, soft glow of the moon.
The agony of the past has long since scattered with the wind.
Leaving behind nothing but the perfect, absolute bliss of the present. As for Lu Jingkong, he died clutching the ghosts of the past, trapped in a prison of his own regret, never to find peace in his lifetime. But Shen Yuning had long since let go of all her pain. Stepping into the warm sunlight, she walked toward her own bright and beautiful future. From that day on, in this world, the wronged little princess of the Jinbei Marcus mansion was no more. There was only Empress Shen, treasured exclusively by the Emperor of Zealand, growing old in peace and love.